We're going to go with purple today. Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It has been a little while, a couple weeks since I've actually posted a video. I actually had a whole bunch of stuff that I was going to talk about, some things that people had emailed me, and then I forgot a bunch of them because I was busy trying to deal with some stuff that had come up, as well as finishing a book that I wrote, a short story, which is probably going to be about 12,000 words. Yeah, 12,000 words. And I'm doing an audiobook simultaneously as I finish revising it for the last time with a friend of mine, because being dyslexic, I need that extra set of eyes. There's already someone that, I think there's been like 3 or 4 people that have actually, other voice actors who've actually offered to review it, to help kind of go over and edit it. And I've been compiling all their notes to put together the best version of it, because this was a short story. This is the first actual finished short story that I wrote probably about 9 years ago, and then I just kind of abandoned it because I wrote it in 2 days. It was really rough, and then I just kind of like left it and neglected it. But I set a point for myself. I set kind of a goal that I would start finishing certain projects. And so I went back to one of the oldest projects that I had yet to finish that had potential, and that was this, to really get done. Also, it'd be the first book that I've actually published with my name on it. I've published a whole bunch of short stories that are also terribly written, but this one I'm actually putting love and attention to. And then I'm actually going to be publishing it. And the first audiobook that I think I'm ever going to be proud of. It's taking a while, but I am going to try to get it finished before Christmas. That is something that I'm really shooting for. And I think I'm about halfway through its last revision. I'm getting all the stuff together, so that's going to be finished. And I'll probably have a sample of it at the end of this video if you guys want to listen to it, see how it's turning out. But other than that, I had a whole bunch of stuff that I was going to talk about, and then I forgot most of them. But then, just as I was about to do a different video, I remembered one of them that was actually something that had come up multiple times with a lot of people. And it was the idea of charging clients differently. Kind of more or less offering different rates or charging people based more on size of their project or the use and that kind of stuff, because that is one of the things that I do. If you're ever one of those people that has asked or been coached by me, and I've talked about my rates, and I've sent you my Excel rate sheet just as an example of what you should pay attention to or things to keep in mind. Again, any advice or any tips that I give are just that. They're tips and they're advice, and you can change them based on your needs, on your use, and what you feel comfortable with. But one thing that a lot of people have pointed out and asked about, especially also if you go to my Fiverr gigs, my Fiverr page, you'll notice that I offer different levels of commercial rates. Now, technically, I, for the most part, offer 4 variations, but I only list 2 on Fiverr, because if I list all of them, then obviously the client, especially a lot of the cheaper clients, will go for whatever the cheapest rate is, and they'll try to argue that it applies. So instead of having to, because I think I did have that before and I just deleted it as an option and just left it as something to negotiate with a client, which I think is an easier and healthier thing to do, because there were so many people that wanted to haggle for the lowest rate. Now, I will say this. My rates are basically the same as far as what I charge per word or per hour or whatever. That is basically the same. But then I also include commercial fees, broadcast fees, stuff like that. Certain rights that the client buys that gives them the ability to use my audio for different purposes, for different uh, ex- periods of time, that kind of stuff, which is not far off from the actual industry, the way the industry actually operates as far as the industry rates. However, my rates are a good bit different, and I use them slightly differently, mostly because my clientele is very, very different from the types of projects and the studios and the clients that industry rates are designed for. And so that's what I want to talk about, considering the majority of the people who actually watch my videos and have these questions are the people that are in my bracket or newer to voiceover, that are just starting out. And I wanted to kind of explain how I do things, who I charge, what and why, and try to give you an idea. Again, this is based on you, based on your business, and I can't really tell you how to charge, because if I tell you what to charge and how to charge, then it only makes sense for people that are above me to do the same thing to me. And even though I do believe there is strong merit for increasing my rate up to industry standards, again, the bracket that I fall into, or at least based on the clientele that I have, doesn't make sense for me to charge industry rates because I don't work with industry people. So charging industry rates to non-industry people makes no sense whatsoever. And as of right now, due to the fact that I wouldn't be able to fill that void with studio and industry work, it wouldn't be fair for me to charge that kind of price. Which is to say, as of current, I don't have the reach that I need to vindicate a higher rate. Even if my skills would be up to that level, it's not appropriate for me to charge that kind of level. Considering I'm doing this all myself, there's no agent or manager involved. I do have an agent, and I do get some auditions through them. I haven't gotten any work through them, but I do get auditions, so I am on some level represented, again, on some level. But that's different than what if you were to come to me directly, and it wasn't a major studio, that's what I would charge. If it is a major studio, I do charge industry rates. People don't seem to understand that. People go, oh, so if Disney comes to you, you'll just charge. It's like, no, if Disney comes to me, I charge industry standards, period. And when that one time when Marvel did approach me, and I did do Deadpool officially for Marvel, signed an NDA and everything, it was industry rates. Now, it wasn't a huge cartoon project. It wasn't film. It wasn't video game. It was a commercial that was just meant for social media. So that's what I charged. But still, that still remains. The point still remains is that I charge differently for different clients. Now, the clients that I normally work with aren't major studios. They aren't Sony. They aren't Disney. They aren't Warner Brothers. They aren't Cartoon Network. They're not Funimation, all this kind of stuff. Even though what I charge actually is more than what I would make if I did stuff with Funimation. I think that's incredibly funny. My standard rates are probably 3 times more than what I would get for doing anime with Funimation. So take that as you will. I think my rates would be on par with doing stuff for Netflix, because Netflix does more SAG related or SAG work as far as their dubbing and voiceover. They only do union projects, so they charge union rates. So they probably would charge a little bit more, if not at what I'm charging. I don't know. That's a little bit more complicated. But let's go over the 4 things that I charge outside of my standard per word charge. Now, my standard per word charge is $5 per 25 words. And I've adjusted that number over the years, and I got to 25 words for $5 because at a certain point, once I get up to, now I haven't done like just a $5 order in a friggin' long time, thank God. But when it got to, like, if I was doing 1,000 words for a small YouTube channel, and it wasn't multiple takes, it was just, that was it. It was just one small YouTube channel, couldn't even be monetized, and it was just like an explainer video for them, or I was dubbing over something for them. It felt right for that price and that many words. And so based on that, I came up with the 25 and 5. So that's my standard calculable rate. And on top of that, I add other things. If it's rush delivery, I have a rush delivery fee. Because normally, on average, it's normally between 2 and 4 days, depending on if it's the weekend, or if I have a whole bunch of orders, or how big the project is, or how many characters, or how much it affects my voice. That's the usual delivery time. But if you want it within 24 hours, there's a charge for that, just because it's going to guaranteedly be extra work on me. And then there is things like separating the files into individual files, separating them into individual files, whatever it is. There's been a few clients when they were doing like a video game and they wanted all of the efforts and action sounds to be separated either by group or by each individual thing. And obviously that's going to take me time, especially if they want them labeled. So I charge for that. And then there is finding background music or doing sound effects, background noise, just because sometimes this is stuff that I have to go find or do some research on to get right. So I charge for that kind of stuff. Now when it comes to fee is kind of the big defining factor of whether or not what I'm charging reaches closer to the industry rates. And so for broadcast rights, so there's broadcast, commercial, or these are the things that I charge and how I what I use them for. So there's broadcast, which is the highest rate that I charge. Then there is commercial, and then there is small project, and then I have a smaller tier, small project. And again, this is not union projects, and sometimes this is negotiable. Sometimes I will add them together based on the client. But generally speaking, the broadcast is 200. And I don't remember exactly how many words or how big a project that is, but I will explain the use. So the broadcast is 200. The commercial is 100. Sorry. The small project is 50, and then the small project, the smallest tier is 25. Now, I use broadcast for if someone is wanting to have all rights. They can do whatever they want with the voice. They can sell it. They can use it in the commercial. They can put it on a streaming platform service. They can have it for, a really long time with no issue and cut it up and do whatever they want with it. Commercial is, so basically, if they wanted to profit directly off of the voiceover, that would be the broadcast rights. Now, again, these are terms that don't necessarily appropriately work because broadcast is kind of an old term that's not really used and technically doesn't apply to things like streaming services, social media, video games, that kind of stuff. It really doesn't apply there at all. So I just have that listed as, and in all my Fiverr gigs, I have it like explicitly explained in detail. But it is something, it's a bracket that I have filled and for this purpose. So if they want to profit directly off of what I'm doing, that, and it's a larger project, that is what I would charge on top of everything else. Commercial would be more for if they were doing one or the other, but mostly if they were wanting to use my voice to drum up business or to advertise for their service, good, product, project, what have you. If they wanted to use my voice as a commercial or as part of the promotional material, whether it's in social media, whether it's on as a YouTube ad, whether it's in a podcast, what have you. If it's used to get people's attention to then make money down the line, then that would be more commercial. And some people, this is one thing you're going to get a lot of when dealing with certain clients, is a lot of them are going to argue that it's on social media, so they shouldn't have to be charged for commercial rates because it's not a commercial if it's on social media. Well, that is bullshit because everything is now digital and on social media. In fact, most advertisement, over 90%, is all social media. Very little of it is actually commercials that you would see, at the beginning of a movie or in between episodes of a TV show or what have you. Very little of it is traditional and old school commercials. Now it's all ads digitally, and most of it is social media. So that is a negated statement and argument. If anyone wants to argue that, basically tell them that. Well, it's all on social media now, so that's irrelevant. Huge studios advertise on social media, so there's no point in that argument. So that is how I use that. The 50 smaller project would be more if someone was doing this is the kind of thing, if someone was doing like a small, they wanted the rights for a smaller video game would be, I think, a good example for that. Smaller video game, or if they wanted to buy the rights to basically monetize it on YouTube. Again, I also have like a number system for how many subscribers or how many views they get on their channel, would also kind of determine which of these it would fall into. But generally speaking, it would be the 50. If it's a YouTube channel and they wanted to monetize it, that would be the rate that I would go with. Again, if it's relatively small, that's generally below, I think, if I remember correctly, because I don't have it in front of me, I think it was below 500,000 subscribers. If it's more than that, then it gets bumped up to 100. And if we get into, if up to 1 million, then it's 100. Past 1 million, that's broadcast rights. So generally speaking, that's what I'd use it for. Now, if it's a very, very small YouTube channel and they wanted to buy the rights to, again, be able to use it for commercial as well as to be able to monetize it, I think the lowest you can monetize, I think, was like 1,000 subscribers, something like that. So between 1,000 and I think between 1,000 and less than 100,000 is probably where I would put, unless their videos are normally viral. That's normally where I'd put the 25. But also when it comes to small video games, if it's just going to Steam or one of the other smaller platforms, I can't remember which ones they were. If it's just going to Steam and they don't have a lot of video games, they haven't posted other video games, so there's no way of gauging how successful it's going to be, it's probably going to be in the 50. If it's, again, a really cheap or very small or low budget game project and it's not that many words, it'll probably be the 25. But again, this is something that I have to negotiate and gauge individually. Now, if it's going to like a digital gaming service that's on like Nintendo Switch or PlayStation, anything like that, it gets bumped up to one of the higher budgets. And then those would be determined on how large a role I have, how many words, and, how successful the games were previously. That's kind of the idea. Now, why are these charged? Some clients don't understand why commercial rates should even be charged at all. Well, the idea of someone being able to make a huge profit off you while you don't make that much is ridiculous and unfair. And the easiest argument is always, well, if you don't want to, buy the rights to use my voice, then just do it yourself. But if you can't do it yourself because you don't think that you're a good voice actor, you have to hire a voice actor who has been working at this for a while and has all the treatment and all the gear to do a good job for you. That's the whole reason you're doing that. And you're confident in me and my performance to make you a profit, to make you money. It's only fair that some of that profit come back, even if it's in advance. Now, there are things like royalties that you can get into later down the line when it comes to bigger clients or doing audiobooks. But generally speaking, I don't normally include royalties in anything. I don't expect to get a check as time goes by. Again, most of my clients, though are high quality, are still not large studios. So charging royalties and stuff like that doesn't really make sense. Also, a lot of people in the industry especially major studios, are trying to get rid of the whole royalties thing. Disney completely got rid of that. They don't want to pay anyone royalties, especially considering if is like, 0.5% of the film, and they plan on making money off of it every single year, re-releasing it, putting on streaming services, putting on DVDs and box sets and all this kind of stuff. You're going to get a lot of money, and they don't want to do that. So that's something that's probably in the future going to be tossed to the wayside. So outside of audiobooks, I don't really see that even being relevant to your business plan. So probably don't even worry about that. Don't even include it. But that is generally speaking the different rights tiers that I charge and how I charge and kind of more or less what I think about when I negotiate with someone. I like negotiating with clients, generally speaking. I like finding out more about the project. I like finding out more about my customer. I like finding out more about the people that I'm working with and the project itself. I like to build that rapport. It's very healthy. It's very beneficial to both of us. Negotiating doesn't have to be us haggling. Negotiating can mostly just be us communicating and finding out more about each other. I'm way more generous when it comes to what I charge when the client is more open with me, when they're more willing to share information and share details and kind of tell me a lot of stuff that I don't generally need to know about the performance that I'm giving. If they're more open with me and I feel more like I'm a part of this, I'm a part of the project, and I have some level of input and I have some kind of that I'm a part of the team, then I'm going to be way more invested and I'm going to be way more generous. Because I too want the project and the product to do a good job. I want them to make money. I want them to sell it. I want it to be successful, and I want us to both benefit from it on some level. For me, the benefit that I would get, this is something to keep in mind, is that the benefit is, number one, I get more work from them and from future projects, from other clients. If people see me do a good job and I'm credited, and make sure that you're credited for as much as possible, because sometimes it can be a calling card, if I'm credited and it's a good job and people like it, they might contact me directly. That's happened a couple times where people have played the video game or they've watched the cartoon and they've come and they've contacted me. They're like, I liked your performance. I saw that you were listed. I Googled you and looked you up, found you. Will you work with me? And that's good. And I want, especially if it's a starting out company, a starting out group or team, I want them to do well. I want them to be successful. I want them to make money, and I want them to keep coming back to me. It's very much like my relationship with Cartoon Hooligans. I want to do a good job. I absolutely love working with them. I want to keep that rapport. I want to keep that relationship, because as they go on, they're more able to pay me higher rates. They're more able to throw me more work, especially more frequently. If I'm doing a good job, people are liking the cartoons, they're making more money off the views and the revenue and the monetization, and they're able to make more cartoons that I'm able to be more in. And they're able to write longer scripts. They're able to do more animation. They're able to bring in more characters, all this kind of stuff, hire more animators. And that's good for both them and me. It's not just a selfish thing. It's not just a one-sided negotiation. It's not just a one-sided business. Your business has two sides. It's you and the people you work with. All of them in one thing. You want all of them to be successful. You want to do a good job, and you want to charge appropriately so that they can be successful. And if they're successful and you have a good rapport with them, they're going to keep coming back. And if they keep coming back, you're going to keep moving up financially and professionally and successfully. So the idea of charging each client a different rate, well, not every single client, but each client basically tailoring my rates to that individual client is healthy. And I know this is probably another hot button issue, especially when it comes to bigger professional voice actors and studios that don't really like how the industry is being watered down. Which I get their point. I'm on both sides, technically. But it's a very nuanced issue. First off, I'm not arguing studio rates. I'm not arguing studio projects. Their rates are fine. I don't think their rates need to go down. I don't think the industry needs to change their rates. They probably need to change, but not necessarily the rates. They need to change the way they do business. They need to change the way they look at talent, the way they deal with talent. They need to change a lot of stuff, but the rates, not necessarily. Maybe when it comes to anime, sure, as long as, the studios are still making a profit so that there can be more work and they're not just focusing on a handful of voice actors. But when it comes to below industry, non-industry, independent, small studios, I think there is a valid reason. There's a vindicated reason to tailor all of your rates to those individual clients and studios and projects. I think that's healthy. It is a good thing. Not everybody can afford the same thing. Not everyone can afford the same level. Not everyone can afford the same people. And due to the fact that all of this is getting cheaper to produce, to make, to do in general, due to the fact that people are getting really, really good at self-directing, at negotiating the business side, at reading copy, at production, at getting good quality sound, there really shouldn't be any issue with people charging specific rates for their specific clients. So, I hope that helps. I did a video about this before, kind of, but since some stuff had changed and there was still some lingering questions, I wanted to go into more detail. Obviously, that's what I've been doing lately. Anytime there's been a specific lingering question or something that just wasn't said with enough detail to really stick, let's revisit it and let's clarify. So, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. Subscribe if you're new, bell for notifications, and leave down the comment section below. Like to see me cover any other topics, talk about anything else, totally fine. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. But you have to say why. You have to say why. You have to. It's the law. It's the law. But yeah. And that's going to be it. So thank you guys for watching, and until next time, peace.